What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Awake and Sober Podcast, a podcast about life and recovery through Christ. A ragbag show for you today.
Here we go, ragbag.
Ragbag.
Ragtag? I don't know. What is that?
Ragbag.
Is it ragbag?
It's like hodgepodge. It's like a mixture.
I thought maybe it was just something that you made up. I'm going to have to look that up, I guess. I always thought it was ragtag or rag something. I didn't know.
Ragtag, I think, is like, isn't that like you're dressed like ragtag?
Ragtag. It's typically like a team, just a ragtag team.
Oh, yeah. It's like a ragtag.
Just a bunch of guys put together and, you know.
Well, that's what I figured it he was going to say, but we got a rag bag.
We're not a team.
That's pretty.
We just got a bag of.
We're not a team?
Well,
man, that breaks my heart. We aren't a team. Oh, man.
my
This
first-
work and stuff we
It's my
put
first
into
week.
this
It's my
thing.
first week back in a while, guys.
No, it's-
Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back.
I will say it's nice not having the studio in my basement.
Really?
Yeah, it is nice not having it there, but at the same time, we're not done with it here yet.
Not quite.
And if you can feel it
Yeah.
as things are falling off the walls. You know, just the way it happens.
That's the beauty of post-op.
Right.
Yeah, as long as that goes well too. You got me trying to do it, so it's a little jacked up. But Wednesday I do start training, so I'm happy.
Nice.
So how you been?
I'm doing well. Doing well. I had a three-day getaway with the family, and it was nice. It was very
Where'd you go?
We went to our cabin. That's where.
You want to give the address out so people could come and visit, or
No, absolutely not.
we can reach the two people?
I'll do it after.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
As long as we have it. I think he sent it to me, so I might have it in
Show notes.
text,
In the
actually.
show notes, yeah, that's great. Yeah,
Oh my goodness.
yeah, fishing and hunting whenever you want. Yeah,
Yeah. Derek,
What's up?
how are you doing, my brother?
Dude, I've got to say, better than the last couple of weeks. I know I've been kind of quiet the last few weeks about things going on in my life, but right now things are looking really, really good, and I'm really happy.
Good.
I don't even want to say happy, but I'm definitely content, and I'm finding joy inside that contentment, and that's where I'm at today, and I'm okay with that.
I know last week you were pretty ecstatic, one that we haven't seen in a while. So it was good to see. And this week is just more the same. Any good news yet? No?
Well, I'm gonna say it's actually I don't want to discuss it here on the podcast.
Right. No, you're good.
Yeah.
You're good. So, Mr. Mike,
Hello.
how are you doing?
I'm great, man. Life is good. You know, I think I've said life is good more in the last 3 or 4 days than I've said in the last probably 3 or 4 months.
Why is that?
Because he joined our podcast.
One, because I got asked to be on this fantastic podcast.
yeah.
No, you know, I feel very, very, I don't want to call it comfortable, but I guess content is the right word. You know, I'm content with my life. Work is good. Relationships are good. The family life is good. And I'm blessed, man. You know, had a funeral on Friday and there was some sad, you know, obviously sad tones to it,
Yeah.
but, it was a celebration of life, and it was exactly what my Uncle Mike would have wanted. I know that for a fact. So it was, you know,
I hope the pastor made you laugh and cry.
yeah, both.
Good.
Very short-winded, but it was a great service. It was over at Jefferson Barracks. You know, gun salute and everything. It was awesome. It was a beautiful thing. So
It is fun to be able to celebrate someone's life.
yeah,
It's one thing I didn't think I would enjoy doing, but I really enjoy doing funerals for people, a celebration of life. Because when you could come in there at the worst moment, make them feel valued, but make them laugh and smile, and walking out of there just in love with the loved one still. It's a lot of fun. What are you thinking of, Derek?
That one funeral I went with you, what you did for that one young girl, and they showed all her pictures, and just like, you know, 75% of the pictures, she's giving the finger.
Yeah.
And Shane's remark to that was, that girl really knew how to tell people they were number one, didn't she? And just like that, everybody in the crowd laughed.
absolutely.
You know,
yeah.
so yeah.
So I knew her pretty well. She OD'd, and there wasn't anything subtle about this girl, for sure. Mm-hmm. And when I paused it to play, I think we played First of the Month, Bone Thugs and Harmony for that break.
No, it wasn't the first of the month. It was a Crossroads, wasn't it?
Oh, Crossroads, yes, sir.
Crossroads.
First and only time that song ever got played in that church.
Our church,
Probably the last two.
our church heard a lot of music it's never heard before inside those walls for this funeral. And when I paused it, she had the bird showing. And so when I came back, I said, look, man, she's always told me I was number one in her heart. And there you go.
Everybody knows.
So
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's fun being able to celebrate them. So today
Today we're gonna get into a little bit about meeting etiquette. Start this party off. First off, I do want to say thank you to a few individuals that had been sent us comments on our YouTube. And,
Beautiful.
Especially one in particular I've known for years. Emily, if you're listening to this one, hey, thanks for the comment. And yeah, you've been through a lot of it with me off and on. That's without a doubt. And thank you for still being there after all these years. And
well, that was awfully sweet. Now you're going to continue?
continue what? No, it's
No. How many other comments is that the only comment you pulled was the one
no.
for you?
I mean, we have a lot of great shows from our boy Roger, which we love. Roger, thank you, Roger.
Who's Roger?
Roger.
I'm just playing.
Roger. No, and then Dave Deek always got his positive note, and we kind of need him to come in and do with his woo woo or whatever one of these times that he does.
And we could record it for sound effect.
Yeah, we definitely need that because I think that should be added to our podcast.
To get the group, whoop whoop.
Yep, that's it right there.
Yeah.
But, hey, that should be our opening to our podcast.
Whoop, whoop.
So, meeting etiquette. I know I didn't really know anything about meetings when I walked into my first one, so it would be a good thing to kind of prepare people what to look forward to, what can you do, what can't you do, what should you do, what shouldn't you do.
I mean, first off, I think you should just go in there, sit down, and shut up. It's usually a good start.
It's usually the best start, but
I know when I got recovered, that's what I was told to do.
Sit down and shut up.
Not sit down and shut up, but go in there. You know, you have 2 ears and one mouth for a reason.
Right.
Go in there. You're trying to change things about yourself. If you're going to go in there and just immediately spout off and just word vomit, are you really getting the help you need, or are you just trying to, be the center of attention? So I know that when I started going into the rooms, I had to get a sheet signed when I was 22, 23, and I wasn't there for the right reasons. But when I came back this time, it was, these people have something I want. And I'm not going to learn a damn thing if I open my mouth and tell them about these 27 days of recovery I have. You know what I mean? So essentially, in so many words, sit down, shut up, listen.
such great advice.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I remember my first meeting, I thought it was like the movies, where it's like everybody sits in these old wooden chairs
In a circle.
and they go into podium,
yeah.
and they talk up into a podium, and I'm like, oh, this is gonna suck. And it was nothing like that. And so my perception of it wasn't reality at all. And then there's, I think, you guys hit the main points. Take the cotton out of your ears, put it in your mouth. That's what I was told. And don't, if you have questions, ask. I don't want it to sound like, go in there, don't say a word, because it's like you need to say something because other people need to help you through this journey, and that's what they're there for. And a lot of times as a newcomer too, people are going to come and bombard you anyway. And hey, man, what's going on with you, and introduce you to guys. So
Yeah. There's also the meeting before the meeting and the meeting after the meeting.
Definitely.
I remember, so I was teaching a group at work, and one of the clients was like, we learn a lot in group, but man, we really get that personal touch when we're outside smoking together, stuff like that. Oh, so the meeting before the meeting, right? Yeah. Is that not saying something to you guys? Even this is one thing that we teach here is the meetings before the meetings, the meetings after the meetings. Once you get in the meeting, sit down and shut up. Do your talking before and after.
So Celebrate Recovery has it built in.
Yeah.
We have a meeting before and meeting after. It's just built into the program. AA has to be intentional about it. I mean, we have to be intentional too at Celebrate Recovery because we have to plan it. But
Right.
yeah, it's an important piece.
Without a doubt.
If you could bookend it with food, there's nothing better anyway.
Even if it's donuts and cupcakes, I don't care. I show up to meetings for the cupcakes.
I prefer cupcakes. Yeah,
I don't know. It just depends where you get the donuts from.
it's a very
There's some really good donuts.
I was going to say the former cop in me prefers the donut.
shocker.
Here we go.
You don't say.
Yeah. The bear claws. I like to get a lot right here.
The lining of my heart.
Stuff just got real. I think we talked the same movie just yesterday.
I think we probably did. Yeah, we did. But no, I love that you brought up the before and after the meeting. And you said, you'll get bombarded. A lot of people, and I know I was, I went in that perception, like, I'm not one of these people. What am I doing here? I'm just here to get a sheet signed. I didn't do anything wrong. Well, I did do something wrong. I got caught with alcohol or weed or drugs or something like that. It's like I did something wrong. But going in this time with an open mind, I think was one of the biggest and best things that I could have done. And we talk about it in the book, how honesty, open-mindedness, and willingness. If you're going to be, you need those things in order to get recovered or to get recovery,
Dude, speaking of that meeting, man, it doesn't matter where I sit at that meeting, I end up reading.
That's why it's such a good meeting. Everybody's involved, man.
It is. It does happen. But like I'll sit at one side, they got the 4 different sides. No matter which one I sit in, I end up reading.
So you don't sit in a circle, you sit in a square.
I sit in a square. It's kind of square. Yeah.
See, if you notice, when we sit in there, we always sit on the outside ring,
Oh, yeah.
especially for the headrest.
Yes.
So what else about meeting etiquette? How about people coming in drunk, high?
Yeah, we talked about that yesterday.
We did. We talked about it for a little bit. How do you view it?
I think it goes back to, let's say somebody comes in drunk, right? We want that person to feel welcome, but we don't want, you give somebody an inch, they're going to take a mile. You let somebody speak that's intoxicated or high. They're going to speak once, maybe, 30 seconds to a minute, but then they're going to come back and double dip. They're going to come back and triple dip, because they want to talk. They want to get the stuff out. For me, I never went to a meeting intoxicated. But I feel like it's not about, the newcomers are the most important person in the room, right? But it's not a newcomer show. You're not the center of attention. You're supposed to be there to learn. And if somebody comes in, and this is just my opinion, if you come in and you just start what we call it word vomit yesterday.
Yeah.
Either you're going to get cut off or you're going to get pushed out.
I haven't really noticed that it's the newcomer that usually comes in drunk or high.
No, someone that's been there
Somebody
before.
that's been there a little bit before, man.
Yeah, they've been through the program. They maybe get 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, whatever it is. And they're the frequent flyer of the white key tags in the blue chips in CR or
30 days in AA.
or
24 hours.
24 hours.
Yeah.
or the not yets.
And not yet.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. I was that guy that got dropped off at a meeting or two, intoxicated. Mm-hmm. But I also didn't go in there and I didn't go into the meeting and be like, oh my gosh, because the club is, we're fortunate enough to have a place in around here where, it's open kind of pretty much till midnight every day. It's open early in the morning and it's open to midnight, so you can go there, hang out, whatever else. But I would go in there and because my wife didn't want me home, so
You go hang out at the club?
I didn't really have a choice.
Oh, no, I'm not. I'm just asking.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I do know a couple people that hang out at the club quite often.
Yeah.
All day long. So,
yeah.
and they'll hang out there drunk, but they don't usually go to meetings. They just hang out in the
Fellowship area.
over there by the tables doing puzzles.
Yeah.
Puzzles, playing pool.
Yeah,
Watching TV.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, there's some nice recliners up in that place, though, man. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, no.
Would you put them in there?
No, I didn't.
He said it like he did.
him and Amy bought him donation. He wanted a plaque.
Oh, my goodness.
He wanted
See,
a plaque.
these are mine.
You can't sit in that one. Sit over there.
So I remember walking into my first meeting after leaving treatment, and there was a guy there that was, we just called him Angry Scott. So if he listens, he'll know who he is, right? And these people kept getting up and walking out, and coming back in, just so disruptive, right? And one of them, when we did key tags, got a brand new white key tag, that shiny white one again, right? That welcome back key tag. And so Scott decided to share, and he says, hey, you want to quit getting those white key tags? You want to know how to do it? Sit down, stay in your seat during the meeting, get off your phone, shut your mouth, get a sponsor, work some steps. That was my first meeting I went to. And when you heard him say it with that authority, that passion, that desire, that's what I did. Now, I was there for my first meeting, but it was pretty neat to hear for the first one, because then it made me want to sit down, shut up, put my phone up and get a sponsor, work some steps. I'm like, damn, this is pretty good. So.
Like I've shared before in the podcast, I think you have shared with us before the groups and those meetings where your actual higher power at first.
Yeah.
Right? And being there and sitting down, shutting up and just listen, I sense that. I can see where somebody could use that as, when they're first getting into the recovery, as, that higher power. That group is something greater than ourselves when we're there together, sharing about our recovery and stuff like that. I really enjoy that about it.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
Absolutely. It's like that whole group has something that I aspire to be, not even as a recovering alcoholic or addict, just as a person. I mean, the AA or NA or, Celebrate, it's not just about stopping substances, it's about becoming more fulfilled as human beings.
The difference between sobriety and recovery.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking, right?
Say it.
So sobriety, we said it before, man, sobriety is only 5 to 10% of your actual recovery. Recovery is a full life change.
Yeah, it's the not drinking, the not using is the easy part.
I agree.
It is not at the beginning. That's the hard part for you.
Naturally,
but there's a switch pretty quick that is like, oh, I see what you're talking about. Because all this wreckage I have to clean up, all these people I have to forgive, all the amends I got to make, all these things that I got to clean up in my life, that's the pain.
Yeah.
That's the stuff that hurts.
Yeah.
It makes it hard. But recovery is not easy.
I also say the hardest thing for me was just putting the drink down. Honestly, I think what did we say yesterday? It's a simple program for complicated people, right?
Oh, yeah.
Well, it's the hardest, easiest thing you're ever going to do in your life. Because it is easy, but it's the hardest, easiest thing you've ever done. Because we don't like to listen. What other etiquette do you live by when you go to a meeting? Anything?
I was thinking about it when you were talking, and Angry Scott pretty much had it said it right. I mean, sit down and I tell the guys that in my transitional living this, especially if they're new to recovery, is excuse me, don't feel like you have to go in there and say something every time.
Yeah.
And because when you guys know this from experience, but when somebody's sharing and you start thinking about, oh, that relates to me, and then you start thinking about what you're going to share, and the next thing you know, you're not paying attention to what other people are saying, and because you're thinking about what you're going to say, and then you might miss something else that's even better. Instead of just speaking the moment it's on your heart, then you speak.
How often do you speak when you go to a meeting?
Not very often.
How often have you spoke at a secular meeting? How often do you speak?
I have not.
Mike, how often do you speak?
All the time.
He wants to hear himself?
It's like I just roll my eyes. It's like, oh.
He's very supportive in my recovery.
Right.
I love this guy. I love this guy. My meeting that I go to every week that I try not to miss. I have, because it's summertime and I love golfing.
You don't say.
I played this morning. Sorry. But it's the 8:00 meeting. So I don't speak at every meeting, but since it is the one thing I don't miss every week, I find it hard not to share a little experience, strength, and hope, because it is my one time to be around my people. You know what I'm saying?
And I think we have the same home group, and then Derek, I think you're referencing that Saturday morning meeting as well. I've shared this with you, Shane, but I don't feel comfortable sharing in that, as in there's a lot of people from the place I work.
Right.
And so, whereas Mike's in a different role as a peer specialist, and I'm as a therapist, there's just a line there that I can't cross, ethically and just moral. I can't do that. So that's where it's like, I really, really enjoy that meeting. And Mike and I have talked about this over the last couple of weeks, is I really enjoy that meeting. However, I need to go to a meeting. I need to find a meeting where I can feel comfortable opening up and talking.
Yeah.
So.
And you want an early one on the weekends.
I prefer an early one on the weekend.
Earlier the better, honestly. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, geez, sorry.
What are you doing?
I'm a klutz, man.
Please
kicking,
excuse
he's
him.
swinging.
He's new here.
I know. This is my first show. Shit.
First show jitters.
I'm so glad I came.
So for the people that don't know how a meeting typically goes, we're talking about etiquette, but how a typical meeting should go. And I don't work in an NA program. I love NA meetings, don't get me wrong, but there are, differences.
A little, not much.
Not much. I mean, a meeting's a meeting.
True.
Well,
Celebrate recovery is different.
yes, until you get over
We
to the
guidelines and stuff like
Should
that.
have thrown CR in there as well. Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah, but AA and NA, from the meetings I've been to, have been really close to the same meeting.
Yeah.
They open up with the steps. They open up with the preamble, all the different things like they normally do.
How it works. Yeah.
Yes, and that kind of stuff, and letting everybody know that all you have to be is willing to. Is that what it is? Willing or the desire?
you don't even need that anymore.
Really?
Oops, sorry.
No.
We'll get to that later.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later. We're all chomping at the bit.
Just the willingness to be sober, and it's pretty much the same thing in the meetings. But now CR, we do have the guidelines and that we got to follow in group, and now they're trying to pull that away at some places. It seems like it just feels that way, but I may be wrong.
They're not. Now, remember, the guidelines are the guidelines. Those aren't going away. How the rest of it is best practice for your church, for your Celebrate Recovery. Best practice don't have to be followed. That's why it's best practice. DNA has to be followed. There's always a difference of best practice versus DNA. DNA is short, sweet, to the point. But our meetings are a lot longer. Even if you don't do dinner, you still have open share group and, large group and open share group. So large group, you're either doing, a teaching or a testimony, and then you have open share groups. So there's 2 hours minimum. But if you do dinner, you're 3 hours. Then afterwards, it's 3.5 hours. It's a good day.
It is.
And if you're leading it, it's even longer. I mean, you're looking at 5-6 hours. You might be at church that day.
Oh yeah, I remember.
So
We had spent some nights there working at the one church for quite a while. And I know we had like 10, 30, 11 o'clock a couple nights with you.
yeah, that was still the early ones. We were there until 1:30, 2. I mean, it was not unheard of before we have community service for us to clean up and, break things down. Yeah. And then we do a meeting afterwards to cover up on how things went. 1 o'clock in the morning was average.
Yeah.
So it was a pain.
Yeah.
But it was fun.
Worth it.
Always worth it. Mm-hmm. I was going to bring up something about speaking. Oh, yes, I was. One thing I don't like about most meetings is people feel they have to speak to cover silence. Mm-hmm. What's wrong with silence?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Because Jeremy said earlier, quit trying to think about what you're going to say and don't miss what's being said. And I think the silence gives you what to say. Like there's that person that's been there for 8 months, 9 months, or even 2 weeks that hasn't spoke yet. And they sit in that silence for 15, 20, 30 seconds, maybe a minute, depending on how big the room is. I'll let it go. The most I'll let it go is usually 2 minutes, depending on how many people in the room. And if I know the people that are in the room and I notice somebody has something to say, I'll just sit there. I'll let the silence go. Because that stirring will happen inside of them. And the next thing you know, boom, here they are sharing what needed to be shared. But it seems like a lot of people like to interrupt that.
Mm-hmm. I know a few. I can't stand this silence. I got to say something. It's like, do you though? You don't. You don't have it. You don't have to say anything. You want to control the situation.
Right.
I can't control the silence, so I'm going to say something
because it's awkward.
Yeah,
it is. Sitting in silence in a group where you're used to hearing somebody always saying something, it's awkward for you. But that's where God shows up and does what he's going to do. I mean, that awkwardness, that uncomfortability is where we're going to grow. And so enjoy it, embrace it. That's probably my biggest pet peeve in a meeting.
What, people can't be quiet?
Yeah. Well, let me go again. I have something else I want to say. No, you don't. Shh.
You have something else you want to say.
None of us want to hear it. So how about that one? Anything else that you could think of? Be on time.
Yes.
Don't come.
yeah.
Don't come late. Don't leave early. I mean, unless there's an emergency, I get it.
And don't come in like it's a hookup. It's not a dating site.
Oh,
I had somebody tell me that they were afraid to go to meetings because they were told that in our area, this county, that men seem to be kind of prowess towards the women. And I'm like, dude, if you really feel that kind of way, find the right person to go with, But from what I've noticed, I had not seen that actually in action, but I've only go to 2 meetings a week at that place. So that's just what it was shared with me. So yeah, that thing, the etiquette about is, be a gentleman, be a lady, or whatever you claim to be at the time. Just, it's not a dating place. It's not a pickup bar. So
I mean, I can take you to meetings that are exactly like that.
yeah, no, I'm good.
Yeah, but
married.
it's like a high school clique, and it's like I can't stand that. But you know what? There's probably 40, 50 people there. It's crazy.
Well, I can get you sober and hook you up. Come to this meeting with me.
that way you won't be sober very long.
Yeah, it's like, you want me to go back out right away?
Yeah.
Number two cause of relapse.
No, I don't know. To me, it's probably number one.
One relationships. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, it's the quickest downfall to somebody or for somebody.
But they're going to be different.
Well, yeah, they know what to do now.
Yeah. They've been sober for like 2 weeks.
I thought you meant 24 hours.
Being in the recovery field, working in the recovery field, the amount of times I've seen people go back out, even since we've started working together, simply because of a relationship that they made either in treatment or in a room. I mean, I can't do it on my hands and feet. It's so many, and it's like, I'm going to be different this time because this time I have tools. Okay, you have them. You going to use them though? It all comes down to being that willing, There's why sponsors say, maybe take a year off.
Yeah. Relationships.
18 months.
Relationships when only one person is an addict or alcoholic, right? Those are hard enough as it is.
Yeah.
So you add 2 people to the mix. 2 unhealthy people cannot make a healthy relationship.
Yeah, they can. An unhealthy one.
An unhealthy one.
That's going to lead to using.
That's what I'm saying. They can't make a healthy relationship. 2 unhealthy people can't make a healthy relationship.
No. But neither can one with somebody else. And you don't have to be an addict or an alcoholic, whatever you want to call it, in order to be an unhealthy relationship.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, codependents are just known for having unhealthy relationships. But
Seeking unhealthy relationships.
but then you throw into the mix 2 addicts. You're asking for trouble.
It's a powder keg, man. It's begging for it is. It's a ticking time bomb. They're like, oh, but we did it. We made it 2, 3 years. Good for you.
But behind closed doors, it is miserable.
Yeah. More oftentimes than not.
I mean, I could still be a jerk today. And I'm a whole lot different than I was. But there's times that I could just be a jerk to be a jerk. I might get in my feelings and be a little butthurt about something. And then I make everybody else suffer. So I could only imagine what my ex-wife had to go through. Hopefully she listens to this and goes to get some help real quick because she's needing it. But hopefully, and I've already made my amends for all that. Yeah. So I could only imagine if 2 of them living together. 13th step. Is there a 13th step?
No.
Since we're talking this?
I was going to bring that up earlier. I think there's a word called for
what?
Going to meetings simply to hook up.
Well, hooking up with newcomers, like your old timer hooking up with a newcomer, someone new in recovery. It happened with my first sponsor. So when I was asked, do I have the same sponsor? I'm like, yeah, no, we had to end that relationship. He ended up sleeping with a good friend of mine that we got sober together. And right before her year, right around a year. And that girl has not been clean since. And so just to know, I guess seeing it firsthand what it can do to somebody, it has just kept her in that cycle the entire time. And I go to church with her brother, and he's a great dude, and I wish she would get back on it. But we could destroy somebody sitting there going to lust after a newcomer. Man, they don't have anything you want yet, and they probably never will. I maybe 2 years down the road, 3 years down the road, but I really don't think a year is long enough, honestly. I mean, there's a lot of us that talk because we continue to grow, we continue to heal, and all of a sudden 5 years later, you're really ready.
Yeah, was that one lady at CR said wait 5 years before you get into a relationship.
Yeah. But she's only got 20 some odd years. What would she know?
Yeah, right.
She's finally an adult in recovery.
Somebody said,
That's real talk. No,
I heard somebody the other day they're like, I got 18 years, so my recovery is finally an adult.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was funny. It was good.
All right, so getting back, you brought up, we were talking about willingness and that. You said that you don't even have to be willing anymore. What did you mean by that? What is going on with that?
So it seems like recovery has changed a little bit. I mean, they changed the definition of recovery, which I like the definition. But you don't even have to have willingness anymore, and you don't have to have abstinence for sure. So there's a lot of things that have changed with recovery recently. So you don't need to be willing. You don't even have to stop doing what you're doing. You can just say, hey, I'm in recovery, and they salute you. So everybody gets a trophy.
Participation trophy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they're not even, a lot of times they don't even have to participate. I guess that's the thing that drives me nuts about it, with the way that we're going with recovery. Most of us have had pretty hardcore sponsors along the way. I mean, yeah, I don't know, it's just different. So harm reduction is the model. And I know that's not where it started, but that's the model that they're talking about. I know one of us in here went to a training that was awfully fun. Are you willing to share that example?
Which one?
So you don't have to go too close. The example of the meth and alcohol.
Yeah, so they gave us this scenario of a husband and wife, and they both smoke meth together. But when they use meth, they get the house, they only do it twice a week, and they clean house, pay bills, do all this stuff around the house, and they don't argue. But when they go out on the weekends to drink and party, they always get into fights every single time. So the question was asked, which is the problem? The meth, the alcohol, or both?
Both.
Yeah. I feel like it's an easy answer.
Wrong answer.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Clearly, it's the alcohol.
Because it's the only time they argue.
Correct.
Does that go back to that? And I want to bring this up, too, because I know my auntie sent a comment about it, but she thinks, yes, there is a such thing as a functioning addict. Is that what they're trying to say? That, they can't be functioning alcoholics, but they're functioning addicts?
No, they're saying that the alcohol is the problem, so they need to eliminate the alcohol, but the meth isn't a problem.
So the illegal substance is not a problem.
It's illegal.
Yeah.
The felony that you keep doing
It's not a problem.
is not a problem. And that's, once again, trying to make things easy for people, right? You don't say relapse anymore. You don't say triggered anymore. They have names for all these different names for all these things now, so that way they sound not as harsh, and it makes people feel warm and fuzzy. And so we're supposed to make people feel warm and fuzzy about recovery.
I don't even think they call it alcohol or addict anymore. I think it's chemical dependent.
It's chemical dependent, and then you can't say, like, if you have a drug overdose, it's not a drug overdose anymore.
It's a drug poisoning.
It's drug
It's a poisoning.
Yeah.
Do they say drug poisoning, or did they say something else?
No, it's drug poisoning.
Okay, yeah. I'm surprised they still use the word drug.
You
Right,
took
they use
fentanyl and you
poisoning.
stopped breathing and you poisoned yourself. No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
You overdosed.
I want to preface this entire conversation that we're having with, we are all abstinence based recovery oriented.
Yes.
Yes,
So-
and these are our opinions.
Our opinions completely.
It's not the views of the people that we work for. In fact, I'm going to read a scripture here in a minute that kind of speaks to that.
Yeah.
But it is our opinions, all this stuff. So while you guys are at work, what do you follow?
Samsa.
Yeah. But you follow your works guidelines. You follow their...
Yeah. I mean, it all comes from the top, you know.
So whether you believe in MATs or you believe in harm reduction, you follow what your work says regardless.
Yeah. So for us, and I know we have kind of similar outlooks on MAT. A lot of people that I see doing MAT, which is medication assisted treatment, is okay. You're not going to do the fentanyl anymore. Let's get you on Suboxone. Suboxone is very, very addicting, you know? So it's all right. You're not doing fentanyl anymore. You're doing Suboxone. What's next? Harm reduction would just be, okay, you're going to stay on Suboxone.
That's maintenance.
Yeah, that's maintenance. Okay. But you're just going to stay on it? For how long? Are you ever planning on getting off of it?
No. It just sounds like fun.
It sounds like fun, right? Well, I'm still putting a mind-altering substance into my body. Like for me, I'm cool if, okay, so harm reduction, you're not using a needle anymore. You're starting to take the pills, right? Okay. So you're on the pills now. You're maintained. You're safer, quote unquote, right? Now let's go to the next step. Okay. So you're taking pills and you're smoking weed or you're getting high. Let's stop taking those pills. Let's just get high. Okay. While you're still getting high, let's stop smoking. Let's stop getting high. The goal is abstinence in my mind, right?
It should always be, that should always be the goal.
The end goal, yeah.
Yes.
But that's the warm turkey thing because you're kind of tapering
That warm
down.
turkey. You're tapering down. Well, that's how it should be going. But it's at the same time when I think of harm reduction, it's like, nope, you're not using a needle anymore. You're using pills, but it's okay. It's okay.
But they're okay if you just stay there.
But if you if you maintain that maintenance. So it's like,
But once again, to the harm reduction is, and I understand their goal is to stop death, right?
always.
And we want people to be alive until they want to be alive. We want to love them until they want to love themselves. But abstinence should always be why are we changing where the end zone is?
I think we changed. You said
Now it's like the end zone's at the 49 and a half, 3/4 line.
we're not changing people to fit the system. We're changing the system to fit the people.
Correct.
That's exactly what it's doing.
Feelings.
And I don't know if we
do it.
talked about that yesterday.
Well, yeah.
Brought it up, yeah.
Yeah, we did talk. Yeah.
Yeah, so, and that's when you start to ruin everything. I mean, that's what hurt us at first in our Celebrate Recovery. We made the program fit the people instead of the people fit the program. And you jack everything up when you try doing it.
Yeah.
You want to make everybody feel included. Well, they could feel included, but here's what it takes to get there.
Yeah.
Right. It goes to that whole, you can't just say you're in recovery. To me, my personal feelings, you can't just say you're in recovery and think, all right, you're in recovery. Because I put forth the work. I've seen individuals that, got good recovery because they put forth the work. It takes work. You can't just like, I'm in recovery. I'm good. Give me my sticker.
Oh man, I
want
feel
a gold
bad.
star.
I feel bad because he's in recovery. It's like, no, he's an active user. You're not, or she's an active user. You're still using. You're not. Are you? Are you technically? Are you in recovery if you are still using a substance?
No. You at least got to pause from it. You at least got to pause from it long enough to go get a tag, a keychain, a key tag, a medallion, something.
Something.
Yeah. So I want to go to a scripture real quick, Mark 12, and we'll go 13 through 18. Actually, I won't even read all of it. We'll just go into 18. Oh, no, we won't. We'll stop at 17. Well, then Jesus said, give to Caesar what belongs to Caesar and give to God what belongs to God. So Jesus is just saying, look, we're not gonna follow the ways of the world, but we have to be obedient still to the laws of the world, right? So we won't compromise who we are.
When I'm teaching, I always, I just make sure they know, hey, look, this being in recovery, they know I'm in recovery, but they don't know my whole story of recovery, right? But it's like I tell them, look, AA is the program that I can talk on. because that's what I apply in my life. Abstinence is what works in my life. I mean, the people that come into treatment the very first time they go into treatment and remain sober, it's less than 1%, 2%. I think it is. Like it's less than 2% of people that get it the first time. Because typically, the moment you go into treatment, guess what you're doing? You're
Thinking about leaving.
Well, you're thinking about leaving. But the moment you get out of a 30-day treatment, if that's your very first time, more than likely you'll be back.
I got this.
Right.
Yeah.
And I know you have opinions on that.
I do, because I would say it works for 100% of the people 100% of the time that go in for the first time. And it fails 100% of the time for 100% of the people that go in the first time. And the reason is it's up to us. What do we want? Where are we at? If we'll listen to people, we'll be fine. Just like if we go into the rooms of AA, NA, Celebrate Recovery, any of them, if we'll listen, we'll be successful. Problem is, we know better. Why do I need to listen to somebody? I know what's best for me. And I'm not that bad anyway, so I could use again. And so there's all the reasons, but I don't think you could ever really pull stats. And I believe 1 or 2% versus anything else for people, but I say it works 100% of the time if I'll listen.
Yeah. You work it.
And if I don't listen, it's going to fail 100% of the time.
And that's what I say. If you take 100% of the suggestions we give you and you apply 100% of these suggestions to your life, you will stay sober. I can 100% guarantee the moment you try to take your will and your life back, even that 0.2% that you want to take back, you're going to relapse every single time. Yeah. And you're not going to reinvent the wheel. Is there more than one way to skin a cat? Yes. Is there another way other than AA? Yes. There's Celebrate Recovery. There's Dharma Recovery. There's Smart Recovery. There are other ways you can get sober, but you have to change your thinking. That's the whole point. Drinking is never the problem. Thinking is always our problem.
Yeah. I mean, that goes back to the drink versus think, or replacing the word drink and drinking in the AA Big Book. Yeah. That's a whole lot of thinking.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You got a thinking problem. Yes, I do.
I think it comes back to that willingness too. Like, where are you when you go into treatment for the first time? You know, like me personally, I've been to one treatment center and I've been sober ever since.
But
but what I'm saying is like that willingness. It's like, I know where I was before I went in, and I was, man, I hope we got that too. I was willing to take those suggestions. I had that willingness because when I went in, I didn't want to die. I see people coming in and there's ODs after OD after OD. And it's like, when is it going to click that, do you want life or do you want substance?
And the thing about you, Mike, is that I would say is, yes, that was your first time in a treatment center. However, that was not your first time at sobriety, right?
True.
So you were sharing earlier, you were going just to get your paper signed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. There are a lot of men and women who walk into the rooms of AA or NA every single day and get it through there.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
So, I'm not saying you have to go to a treatment center.
Right.
Mm-hmm. But it's like typically once you've reached that level, you'll probably be back again.
Yeah.
And so, but I would say that your time in AA or dabbling in AA would have been those, because if you would have got it the first time,
those first couple, you
wouldn't have, wouldn't have done it.
Good point. Yeah.
Yeah.
I never looked at it like that. Yeah, that's true.
Derek, what are your thoughts on harm reduction? You've been kind of quiet.
Yeah, because I shut up, sit down, and listen. No.
It's probably best.
I don't like what I'm hearing about it myself, and that because abstinence, I think, is the only real way to do this. Because, like I said, recovery is about full life change. Just because so we were talking about the warm turkey situation. Okay, you quit using the sticks, and now you quit doing it one way, but you're doing it another way. You still got that addictive behavior going on. You're not changing, and that's my big thing about in recovery. The big thing I teach is it's about the life change. You now start changing your life around, and you're going to end up right back where you were at, if not dead.
I've worked through my trauma. I've been through all that, and I could talk about it openly now. But I still as much as I would love to, have a Jameson on the rocks. I would love to just have one or two, but I can't. And that's what agitates. Like, I'm not drinking because of all that stuff anymore.
Yeah.
You know, all that stuff that I drank in the first place. I don't drink because of that anymore. But so I could, you know, I'm going in there pretty happy, but it's like one will never be enough. Like, it's that addictive personality.
Right.
And my thinking will be like, nope, gotta go.
It's those people that want to talk about, oh, can I drink NA beer? No. Why not? It's
Oh,
not.
you
It's
sure
not.
can. Yeah, why not?
No, when they're asking me, if
I had a buddy ask
my
me that.
opinion about them, if they can, what do I think? And I say no.
Yeah.
Because it's still that same.
Well, and they've got
behavior.
like actual 0.0 alcohol now on those, you know, like Bud's got that, Heineken's got it. I mean, a couple of
What's the name of that one stuff?
Ritual started with that 0.0 where it tastes just like the booze that you used to drink.
Right.
And man, you talking about one, especially sex addiction. I know I talked about it before, but we talk about breaking the rituals that you got used to. And they named it Ritual.
That's clever marketing right there.
Yes, without a doubt.
Yeah, that's good.
I mean, you want to talk about causing people to relapse, because half the fun about having a taste was getting the feeling. And if I'm not getting the feeling, but I have the taste, how long before I go and catch the feeling?
That was just the thing. Like with beer, I'd never liked the taste of beer. So if I was drinking, it was because I was going to get to that point where I was just ripped, torn, and out. So why would I even think that a non-alcoholic one would be anything good for me?
I wasn't drinking for taste at the end.
No, you kidding me?
It was not happening.
I was just going back to Samsha's website to look up more on harm reduction, because I know the way it started, and that's what I'm trying to find on here, and I'll find that as we go. The way it started was really good thoughts and ideas, right? Needle exchange, I don't really believe in, because I think people need to suffer that sometimes. That's what's going to bring me to my bottom. You know, there's no such thing as a rock bottom except for death. Death is your rock bottom. You can't go any lower.
But I think it started before that shit. It started with the HIV epidemic.
Yes,
You know, HIV and STDs. Yeah.
So HIV, but the needle exchange, passing out Narcan. So it was a lot of really good movements at the beginning of harm reduction. But then we got away from it and started going to the, hey, just instead of drinking hard liquor, drink beer or drink something softer with less percentage of alcohol. So it's always just go down just a little bit. No goal of ever abstinence. They got away from that.
Yep.
And you see these shifts, and it starts, unfortunately, with our federal government, because I sent everybody a message last night that was kind of weak, I guess.
I stopped reading it completely.
Yeah, it's
Very frustrating, to say the least.
so harm reduction is an important part of the Biden-Harris administration's comprehensive approach to addressing substance use disorders through prevention, treatment, and recovery, and empowering people to reach their own goals through, incremental change, very small change.
Sometimes not a change at all.
Right.
Like, I mean, let's be honest. You're doing it, okay. You're still doing it, but now you're doing it. You're not on the street. You're doing it in a safe environment. What constitutes a safe environment? Are there doctors on hand?
Right.
Or is it just a clean area?
So more with harm reduction. What are some bad things that we could see with it, and the way people might view it, or?
I think the biggest overarching thing is there's an absence of a clear path to recovery. You know what I mean?
Like it says, the lack of accountability.
Yeah.
It's not good.
I don't think you're going to find a sponsor that's going to work with you. And you probably won't look for a sponsor. I mean, a lot of them are not going to go to the rooms. The ones that are going to go from fentanyl to whatever's next, and a lot of them won't go to the rooms, or the meth addict or the the two that drink or use meth and they quit drinking because that's the only problem, they're not going to wind up in a room then most likely because they're still using and they don't see a need for the recovery.
Right.
So most of them won't show up in the rooms, and if they do, they're not going to ask for a sponsor.
Well, and that's my that's my whole argument against this harm reduction, is because it's like, okay, you're telling them that it's okay to continue living the way you are, and not because they're not going to work a program. We're not even going to talk about a program with them. We're like, it's not even going to be discussed. So I'm not going to be able to discuss this plan with you or this abstinence program with you because you're not done doing it. And I know you have a problem with alcohol, and meth isn't a problem, even though it's an illegal, Class D felony to be in possession of it. But neither here nor there, right? You still, if you still need something, a substance to alter your mind in any way, shape, or form, there's a bigger problem.
Yes, there is. And what are you afraid of by getting to it? And I think that's my problem with MATs.
Yeah.
Is we want them to be alive, but what's the root cause? What is the real issue going on inside of you? Why are you so afraid to get to it? How hard was your root issue to get to? And I'm only using you because I was outside for it.
Yeah. So I got into that. I mean, it wasn't easy, but I often say I don't want easy. I want hard. Without strife, there is no growth. Right. It took me 14, 15, 16 months to get to that point to where I was like, okay, I think I'm ready. But when it happened, I mean, it flew out and it was like a light bulb went off. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But getting there took me a minute.
But you worked the program all the way up till then.
All the way up to that. And it's one of those things that it was my biggest underlying reason was the trauma. I said that on day 3 of treatment to a group of complete strangers because I knew that it had something to do with it. I mean, when you get diagnosed PTSD and you have no idea why, oh, well, there's a reason why.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because that one single event or events basically dictated the first 25 years of my life.
That event and what you allowed to come out of that event.
100%.
Yeah.
What I allowed it to do to myself.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I know that's a harsh thing to say, but and especially when a lot of it happens to us guys as we're young and we don't know any better. And then we got to hide it because of the shame, the guilt that comes along with it.
Yeah.
Whatever that trauma might be. But it's impossible. It's hard to work through. But we allow it to shape us because we don't know any better.
It was normalized.
Yeah.
I thought what I was feeling after it was happening, what I was feeling was normal. We talk about embracing the chaos now. It's like I wasn't embracing the chaos. I was the chaos.
Right. And so those character defects that we allowed to shape and mold us, we didn't ask, we're not guilty when it comes to the incident, but we're guilty for what came of it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And that's tough. And people are afraid. How long did it take you to work through your stuff, brother?
30 years?
No, once you got there.
Ain't no shit, right?
Well, if I asked your wife, she'd probably say he hasn't, but it depends how mad she is at the moment.
She's good with me right now. So,
all right.
Yeah.
So, in other words, but once you got into recovery, how long did it take you to address the underlying issues that were going on?
4 years. And I say that because when I first came in, I wasn't honest. Right. So it was one of those where I went to treatment and then it was 9 months. I've shared that before. And it was kind of, constant relapse there. And then it wasn't until I had Christina as my therapist. Right. And she called me on my BS and said, this is what needs to happen. And I said, I told her she was number one.
I bet.
And
A couple times.
Yeah. And then when I put all that down on paper, I was like, wow. And then, I had to look back and say, okay, well, what happened to that individual that made them think that it was okay for them to do that to me?
Yep.
Which was a hard question I had to answer because, and at the same time, while I agree with, that traumatic event and, what happened as a result of that, right? Our thinking changed. that's not our fault when we're 5, 6, 7 years old.
Nope.
Not at all.
It's not.
Nope.
So, but it's like we have to get to a point where we realize that this is the problem and we have to deal with it, you know? But yeah, so I mean, after that, it took.
So how long after this, once you went into treatment this last time, how long from the day you walked in until you worked through that crap?
Oh, it was kind of like I openly said it out loud for the first time, probably a weekend, for the very first time in my life, when I opened up about it to a group of strangers that I didn't know. And then after that, it was processing it with my therapist, going through, doing an impact statement, writing letters, talking, what is an amends going to look like to this individual? You know, and so looking at all those things, so I was able to look at it from the entire picture of it all and say, wow. And it was kind of able to like take myself out of it, you know, kind of like see above and like, okay, well, what would I say to somebody else that was going through this stuff? You know, like I don't know. It was awesome to go through, because I've also shared before, I wanted to leave treatment different than when I came in.
Yes.
And so I you know, we were on COVID protocol, and I still did a 4th and 5th step with the pastor that was on site. I wanted to do a 5th step because I was like, I'm not leaving with all this baggage that I've been holding on to for the last 4 or 5 years.
So once again, how long did it take you?
Probably 14, 15 months. Yeah.
It took him? That's what I'm saying. How long did it take you? Because I asked you how long, but you never gave it to me yet.
I would say from the time probably 3 months.
Nice. How different was it after you did it?
Freeing. I didn't feel like I was chained or burdened anymore. Like I didn't feel weighed down by this, you know, these thoughts that I had made up about myself. You know, like the lack of self-esteem kind of went, you know, that was kind of lifted. I know it's hard to believe that I have a lack of self-esteem, but.
Oh, it's very believable.
You and me both, brother.
It's very believable. The cockier we act, the more insecure we are.
Totally.
So
It's our coping mechanism.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I was able to like actually recognize my character defects that it was resulted from that, and say, okay, well, how do I cope with this? How do I challenge these character defects, turn them into character assets? Like, how do we start working through this? Mm-hmm. So
that is such a fun. How did you feel afterwards?
That weight lifted, and after I got it all off my chest was the first time that I considered forgiveness. Because I was angry. I was really, really resentful. And the further along I get in my recovery, the further along and the more accepting I am of it. And I use it now as a power, but I also recognize that it wasn't that person's fault, because that person was going through the same exact thing. It comes back to that normalizing, right? It was a normal behavior in that person's mind, right?
Unfortunately, yeah.
And that's where I'm at right now, is like, I don't blame this person because the same thing was happening to me. Do I condone what was done to me? 100% no. But I understand why it was done.
You know, and that brings up a question. It's like, why was it normalized by them? Hold on, I got it. Why was it normalized by them, but it wasn't manifested to be normal in us?
I mean, that's a good question.
I
mean, and typically those behaviors are learned, right? They're completely learned, but then they're continued.
So let's go back to what Casey brought up, and we even talked about a little bit yesterday.
Yeah.
We may have the gene in us that we take one drink and we activated that gene, right?
Mm-hmm.
We become an addict. Well, same thing with that.
Some are born, some are made.
Yep. So a lot of times, and I can tell you what it usually does to men and women. When it happens to us as boys, it can make you go one way or the other, to where you'll hate it and you'll never do it, or you'll end up doing it, but then it could turn you gay or a big time sex freak. So there's a lot of drawbacks to it that we may go one way or another. Yeah. So not everybody's going to turn into, whatever we want to call that.
I wouldn't say normal, but yeah.
Somebody that needs to be buried underneath a prison.
Yeah. And I want to go back to that too, because, you know, it'll guide you on a certain way. Like,
Yeah.
I'm comfortable with my sexuality, but even when we were talking, it's like I had homosexual thoughts because I thought that was normal. You know what I mean? And I didn't act on those things, but it was like those thoughts kept creeping in, and that's what kind of drove me. Because when I was drinking, it would come up more because it kind of it unplugged it.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
All inhibitions go out the window.
All inhibitions go out the window. Now, did I act on it? No, but I knew that, like I said, I'm comfortable in my own skin, and I know that I am a straight man. But that scared the crap out of me.
Yeah.
Not to say that it's wrong, but just it was like, what is actually going on inside my mind, you know?
And I think the both of you said something really well is it was happening to the person. What happened to them, or it was happening to the person. There's no first time child molesters or anything else out there right now.
Right.
That has been passed down. Mm-hmm. You know, maybe you might find a random person that said, oh, you know what? I'm going to do that. But most of the time, it's just a learned behavior. It's something that has happened to them. And that's just a sad thing to think of. Mm-hmm. So, man, we got way off on that. But I mean, it obviously probably needed to be said, because anytime I share it from the stage, right, about what had happened to me, every man in that room comes up and says, thank you. Because now I can say something. And maybe that's somebody's chance today. But not working through your trauma. Are you mad you waited so long?
No. I mean, I feel like the time was right. You know, I feel like it was the perfect time. I had finally gotten my my recovery a little bit, you know, foundation done. I'm working towards now. The substances are under control, quote unquote, right? Because they're never under control.
As long as you keep doing what you're doing.
Exactly. So I'm continuing to work a strong program. So now it's about the behaviors. You know, now it's about changing that mindset, right? I don't think I waited long, man. I think it was the right time. I think it was a perfect storm of sorts.
Well, I agree. I was just wondering if you had any regrets from waiting so long. What do you want to say, D?
Well, it's what they're talking about. You know, like you said, you let it happen when it did, and all like that. And we discussed that. I was saying that life changed, and that I was in recovery 4 years before I even started thinking about anything about my trauma. What drove me to that? I stayed sober for 4 years and thought I was really doing something, but my life change really wasn't happening because it started being pointed out to me that these different behaviors that I had that were coming back, that, you know, you could tell that was the personality that I had at one time, the way I spoke to individuals, the way I conducted myself, I carried myself around. And this is 4 years into my sobriety.
Yeah.
You know, I really thought I was doing something, but then when I truly started working my trauma, like, the dude you see sitting here today was not the guy that was here, you know, 2 years ago. And that's even in my, you know, in 5 years of recovery.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
For sure.
So people will get to their trauma. If people will get to the root cause, it's not always a trauma, but the majority of it seems to be a trauma. Mm-hmm. They could experience the freedom, the healing that they've been looking for. They won't have to cover it up. They won't have to mask it anymore.
I think this all goes back into harm reduction is not allowing this to happen.
Yes.
Yes.
And that was...
It is not pointed towards, you know, the underlying causes. It's pointing towards the negative consequences of the substance use.
Yeah, because they say that they're going to it's going to help with health issues, harm reduction, but really, aren't we causing more by putting that stuff in our body? Mm-hmm. So we're still going to have health issues. We're going to have a greater risk at truly suicide if we stay using and not working on whatever that issue is. So suicide risk is up, health risk are up. Everything that they're telling us that it's good for, I just don't see it.
I don't see it.
Besides, if we're going to talk about getting people Narcan in their hands and a couple of the other like educational pieces, I believe in. I'll stand behind it. But to say quit using quit drinking and use meth. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
That just sounds ridiculous coming out of the mouth.
Yeah, it's.
I think there's a place for it in. I know I've been messing around with. So.
It only took us an hour and a half.
Yeah. Right. I think there's a place for a harm reduction, and I would say, like, if I, in a private practice, I have an individual who's coming in, who I'm counseling, who's not done drinking, right? We can work through kind of those stages. Like, have you tried controlled drinking? Have you tried drinking at certain times? Have you done all that? I can see that there's a place for that, but the ultimate goal would be abstinence, right?
But then that's not harm reduction.
At the beginning, I would say it's a reduction of harm.
Yes,
Warm turkey.
Look, it's
warm turkey. Yeah, it's definitely warm turkey.
To me, we'll accept anything that you're willing to do. If you're willing to go from, if you're doing pills and drinking and you're going to quit the pills and you're only going to drink, I'll take that as a win.
Right.
I'm not going to celebrate that as you're sober yet or you're clean yet.
Right.
But I will celebrate that victory with you because it is huge.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what people need to hear. That's what you would do if you were private practice. If you're going to do that, I'm even going to celebrate those wins with you.
Yeah.
I used to give a guy a chip every month because first he quit pills and he's like, I don't have a drinking problem. I only have a pill problem. And I said, okay, let me know how that works out for you. And he kept coming. And finally he was 30 days in. He goes and he gets his 30-day chip. And then he comes up at the end when we circle back around for the blue chip and he comes up again. He goes, I got a drinker problem too. And so he celebrated both, and he celebrated both for a while. Then he finally only celebrated the one, thank goodness, because he was costing us some money in the ministry, 2 chips each time. But it's neat when they see that, and if you help them and still celebrate, but still let them know this is our goal, but we're going to celebrate you along the way.
Yeah.
I think that's a better encouragement than saying you just pick whatever you want and we agree with you. Mm. We have your ribbon, we have your gold trophy, and
that's okay. Sorry, man. This is my soapbox topic.
Tell us how you really feel.
Yeah, it's another thing. Is when an individual comes in and says, these are my goals. I'm just supposed to say, okay, those are your goals. If your goals are just to stay sober here for 10 days and do that and go back out and drink, okay, and I'm supposed to be okay with that. Like, that's what they want us to do. Mm. And that's not okay.
Changing the system to fit
exactly
the addict or alcoholic.
All we're doing is setting up to fail then.
That's it.
That's 100%.
You're not challenging ideas. You're accepting a person's own ideas, which their own ideas is what got them into treatment or in the rooms in the first place.
And this is where my brain goes, is like, that's the valid argument that it's a part of the healthcare system that just wants to get your money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because it's like, we're not telling you to abstain. We want you to go back out, do whatever you're going to do, and then we'll see you again soon.
Right.
To me, that's like setting you up for failure.
Mm-hmm. Without a doubt. So when we went to CPS training, they talk a little bit about that, the goal setting side of it. CPSs should only listen to what their goals are. Clinical side, the clinical team's going to set goals for the person while they're there.
Correct.
But even as a CPS, why wouldn't I challenge? I mean, that's, to me, their job. My job isn't, I'm supposed to be a peer. Mm-hmm. I'm supposed to let you know what worked for me. So I'm going to ask you questions about those goals. Great. That sounds like a decent goal to start with, but what about this? What can you do to deepen that? What can you do to go a little bit deeper, a little bit further, a little bit more? That should be.
Yeah.
So okay. In your CPS training, do they require you to remain abstinent from alcohol and drugs?
I don't remember that coming up.
When I was in training, I specifically remember that you do not have to have a substance addiction to be a CPS.
But that doesn't make any sense because you're a certified peer specialist.
Yeah, you are.
That's the MRSS, like we always talk about. Mm-hmm. That's a Missouri Recovery Sports Specialist. Mm-hmm. But in order for you to be a peer of mine, you have to be probably doing the exact same thing that I'm doing, correct?
Just further along, yeah.
Right.
You would think.
So, but they didn't mention any of that you have to abstain from a program, or you be working a recovery program.
they never
Yeah, it was.
they never really said. I mean, I have all the paperwork here that I could dig
Right.
through, but I could tell you. So back when I got the first credential, 2015 MRSSP, you had to have 2 years of sobriety, actively working recovery. Otherwise, you weren't getting that. They'd say, go get your MRSS. When they combined more the psych side, the mental health side with the substance use side, when they made it behavioral health for the peer specialists, you could still drink because you might be in there as a mental health side of things. And so you could still drink. And that's why they don't require you to work a program, because when they combine those two things, it really kind of boogered up that credential. I think they should, why not have two separate, one for substance use, one for mental health? Because if nobody ever had a substance use problem and they become a peer specialist for somebody with substance use, what is most addicts going to say to that person at the beginning?
You don't know what I've
Beat
been
it?
through?
Yeah.
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 They're going to tell them to beat it, so it won't do any good. And so I think they really need to separate those two. You could give a class to overarch everything if you want to, but you should have, like, the people in substance use should be working a program. The people in mental health should have a mental health issue. Because otherwise, if somebody has never worked a mental health issue with themselves, how are they going to go be a peer for somebody in the mental health side? How do we... Yeah, that's why. That's why they don't say you have to work a program.
Yeah.
Is because they combine those two things.
Gotcha.
And so now we're causing more harm. It's not harm reduction in that. Yeah, you could drink now.
Go ahead.
Don't do that.
We're not advising you to go drink. Just throwing it
You
out.
can go drink now.
Yeah, don't do that.
Yeah, I meant to people going through training. We could drink.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Well, then,
this was go ahead.
Well, what one last thing was, then you get into, let's say, CPS, and then I went and got my MADAC, right? And then my MADAC too. I can't drink with those,
Do.
right?
No.
So it's like, I'm a CPS first, I'm a MADAC second. I'd be defeating the purpose of drinking as a CPS if I'm going to my MADAC.
You can lose that certification.
Like that.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah, so
So
you always got to follow the highest ethics.
always
Right.
across the board.
Yeah.
So it's just, I feel like it's defeating the purpose if you're going to become a CPS and you're not going to be in recovery.
It is 100%. But there's people that want to do it. I mean, because they finally started paying them. They don't pay them great, but I mean, when somebody could go in and it's never really had much of work history and they could go make $20 an hour, as a CPS or as a MADAC or something. MADAC, you have to work to recovery, but a CPS, I think, 15 to 20 bucks an hour, pretty much.
Typically 15 to 20, around the 15 to 16 to start, but it should go up incrementally with time.
So entry level, you could just walk in and not have to worry about anything. Just take a week-long course, listening on Zoom. Just don't fall asleep. And because there's some really good information. There's some really good, especially for those that have never really done it before, there's some really good information. But $15 an hour for a week's worth of training. And you could probably get hired on somewhere that will pay you while you're taking training.
100%.
Yep.
So
Everybody's looking for beers right now, too. So shout out to the NPRA.
Did you say PBA? PBR?
PBS.
PBS? CBS? Furman?
Broadcasting.
Furman?
Yeah, what did you say, though?
NPRA, National Peer Recovery Alliance.
What do they do?
We are a group of CPSs, peers, who are advocating for peers in the workforce. So we're pushing for higher wages. We're pushing for better benefits. We're pushing for better training.
Don't make it too high because I won't be able to afford too many of them then.
It's true. This is
We're
true.
going to have to hire a bunch of them. So you keep pushing for higher wages. Let them get in there and work for a little while and let them earn that. I already got it paid enough for my double quarter pounder with cheese. But that's a whole nother broadcast. I think this was fun to get out of the way, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A little meeting etiquette, a little harm reduction. And I truly think we're doing more harm than good in doing it.
Amen.
So
Absolutely.
now when we go to work Monday, tomorrow, we have to think.
I put my corporate hat back on.
Yeah, we have to abide by their the rules, unfortunately.
It's a good thing I got tomorrow off, so I got a day to process everything we said today.
Yeah, but the thing is you're going back there either way.
We'll end up going back there within the week, yes.
Yeah, so look, there's a time and a place for most things. I think harm reduction can be good if we don't take it to the extremes, but when we take things to the extremes like we did as addicts, we screw things up. Mm-hmm. And I think that will too. So anybody have anything in closing? It's closing time.
I said, no, man, I think we about covered everything, you know.
Oh, it's a good show, man.
Just,
Thanks for having me back after my 36.
Welcome back, dude.
Week.
It's good to
I mean,
see
I
you.
cannot believe he took 3 years off, came back today and thought he was just going to run stuff.
I thought it was 4.
But it'd be for soon. Don't worry.
welcome back, man. I'm so glad you're here. Seriously.
I'm sure you are. Yeah. Somebody else could be the blunt of the joke. Yeah.
You know, if he keeps pulling the mic up any higher, it's going to cover his face pretty
yeah,
soon.
but never gonna see
I
him.
know. I will say though, I'm really, really glad that Derek is back in
Neolia?
at the inpatient center, man.
Yeah, he got tired of being the only no-nonsense counselor out there. Now there's another one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's how I got introduced today, as a no-nonsense counselor.
Good.
2 family members of a client.
Yeah, that's good.
It's just like, okay.
That is a good thing.
Yeah.
That's not a bad thing.
Would you rather be the guy? This is the guy that lets everything slip, counselor.
Yeah.
Lets you slide right through.
I do want to share that, and I had a really good experience seeing these gentlemen be baptized today. You know, it was a couple of guys I had worked with and spoken with a lot up there in the Olean, and to see them being baptized today was a very blessing thing.
It's awesome.
That's, you know, that makes me more and more proud about my recovery, that I've gotten to that point that I can see them. I know we talk a lot about we don't always see the fruit of our labors.
That's right.
But seeing that, I believe, was fruit of my labors. You know, what God's put me here to do, and I've seen that today, and it was just amazing. Thank you guys, if you listen to this podcast, for letting me be there.
Oh, they're good.
appreciate the invite.
They listen to this podcast.
I know they do.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, I guess we could say, congrats, Kobe. Welcome to the family.
Yeah.
I wish he would have known for sure last week when he was on, because he could have mentioned it, but he didn't get the final, I guess, word until afterwards. So, yeah, congrats. Welcome to the family.
Definitely.
He has been initiated. All of heaven celebrated today.
Yes.
That's right. So, hey, look, you want to give it to us, Derek?
Yeah, look us up. We're on every podcast platform out there. No matter what it is, you'll find us, Awake and Sober. If you have any comments or any questions about what we do here, you can reach out at info@awakensober.org. And if you're looking for help, look up Reclaiming Hope
Yeah.
-mo.org, right?
reclaiminghope-mo.org. You can fill out
Yes.
an online form, and we'll get in contact with you and get you set up for some services.
Yes.
Whatever might be needed. You got anything, Big Mike?
Not today. It was a great episode.
Big Perm?
Oh, man, that's good, man. Thanks for having me back, guys.
Yeah.
Glad you're back.
No scriptures from Big Perm today.
Yeah.
That was weird.
Go in peace, serve the Lord.
Go in peace. May the Lord bless you and keep you. Is that where you're going to go with it? Hey, look, thanks for joining you guys. God bless you guys, and have a good week. We'll see you soon.
See you guys.
See ya.
Peace.